Hi everybody. Today we have two wonderful designers with us. The president of FDCI, Sony City, and lovely designer like Ashish Soni and Leena Dhaka. So today we are discussing on the future of fashion on during the post-pandemic period and what's the next step in the industry has to take or by these experts. So I would like to basically start with one very fundamental and basic question, that is, what were the early signs that you were required that in the staff changes? That's the first thing gets hit. Is that people have to make staff changes because income has shrunk or some basic. So that is always the first. So what were the early signs you guys noticed that
So I think, if you talk about Fashion Design Council of India, our take on this will be different from what Ashish and Reena will have. The reason being that essentially we are office based. So the number of people who are coming to us and are mostly people who are either in an executive position, who are looking after graphics, who may be looking after marketing, who may be looking after the day-to-day administration, and of course event. But where it comes to both Ashish and Reena, it goes beyond their office. It also goes to a production center. So when FDCI is concerned, we really didn't have much of a problem, except in the very beginning, a lot of people stopped to come to office, but we were able to manage for the first 20 days or so. But the first signs came as soon as we realized that we are helpless. If we have to put things together, we cannot only work on Zoom calls, we need to meet up to everybody deciding on how to come up with ideas. So, an interaction between the people was required, but not that much. So in that case, we were still able to manage. But I think if the same question is given to Ashish and Reena, the problem in the office itself would have been, how can production take place if there is a pandemic, if all the factories are not open? How will their staff come in? So if the workforce doesn't come in, then obviously for the designer it becomes very difficult. Without the workforce, they can only create the design in their own studios, but at the end of that, to bring it to the public, for sales to happen, for business to happen, there has to be production. So I think it's best. I think Ashish and Reena, maybe Reena, if you could tell Augustus what are the first changes, and were you able to continue with your unit or not?
Sorry, am I audible, Augustus?
Yes, very much audible.
Okay.
Very audible.
Thank you, Mr. Sethi. Very well put together, and you've sort of given an insight into what really is the macro picture of the industry. What has happened is in our staff situation, there was obviously a stage where it was a complete lockdown, in which case all over the world that lockdown resonated, and most of our business or accounts or whatever work we were doing was tided over to a time where we can deliver. And post that, with the retail opening mid-June onwards and now July onwards, like I am right now, in fact, doing small productions of up to 1,000 pieces. But my entire workforce is not back from their own villages, not because I I have told them to leave. They have left on their own will to be at home with their families. They were paid well in time before that. In fact, we are requesting them to come back, and they're not able to as yet. So that's been a bit of a limitation till they feel safe and confident to return to work. We will have to. So at least for me, I have a lot of areas where I have gray areas where I'm suffering because not having my key core team with me.
So, at what point the organization in the fashion industry, on an average, decided that this is a minimum. I mean, now we are stretched to the maximum that we can minimum sustain, and it's always a very hard decision. and we came to that point that, okay, this, let's say the workforce of 50 people, now we minimum 10 are required, and at this, during this trouble time, we have to only stick to 10,
I think
unfortunately.
Ashish, you may be able to answer that in a much better than all of us. For one reason is that Ashish's factory, I know, is very close to the FDCI office, and he also depends a lot on individual customers, because to come there sometime for trials. So it is not only the workforce; it is also related also to the customer base.
So, so this,
Good afternoon, everyone.
yeah, first,
So just to build on what Mr. Sethi said, I actually, run my factory is more in terms of size and scale is more like an atelier rather than a very large scale factory. So there are people I employ which I've had and trained over the past 20 years. And like Reena said, that's what happened with her is something that's happened across Southeast Asia. I mean, from Pakistan, Sri Lanka, India, Bangladesh. A lot of the labor force, as you saw on television during the lockdown period, left the big cities and went back to their villages. So a lot of the big factories that remain closed are still functioning at very, very minuscule levels because a lot of the labor is not back. All industry, I think, had to make those, careful choices of whether, because there was, that there's that much lesser production that is happening because, consumption has fallen and the people's orders are not there any longer. So there were a lot of big corporations that had to take the hard step of saying, like you were mentioning, there were 1,000 people, they can't employ 1,000 people anymore, sadly. So a lot of course, across the world, there's been a lot of laying off. Fortunately for us, because we were structured as a smaller unit, my biggest focus was to make sure that we don't lose trained staff. So I ensured that I could keep as many people as I possibly did before the lockdown. There are a few who chose not to come back because of reasons of pretty much being scared by the pandemic. But beyond that, I think it's like Sunil said, it's not just the production hassle. It's happened across everywhere. Secondly, it's what's been interesting is that fashion is not an easy thing to do from home. One has to see and interact however much you do over Zoom, but you still need to touch the fabric. You need to see whether the sample fits right or doesn't fit right. You can send a sketch over the video, but it's still not the same. And not to mention the last point, that mostly every factory everywhere across the world has had to change the way it functions because of social distancing. So whether you employed 10 people or you employed 1,000 people, you can't have them working in the same manner as you did pre-COVID, simply because those things do not follow social distancing norms. So everything's had to change. In some big factories, people have started doing shifts where they worked, the people are working 3 different shifts so that you break up the labor as they come in. So you don't have, say, 600 people working at any given point of time, thereby automatically creating social distancing. A lot of people have had extra space. They've increased the distance between their machines and everything else. But, you've got to have your COVID protocols in place. And so that's automatically, unfortunately, reduced staff across many categories of production.
But Augustus, I need to tell you, this is more a Delhi scenario that both Reena and Ashish have been giving you, and which is definitely what we are here for, because most of the designers setups are in Delhi. But if you really want to know what is happening on a national scale, and also since you are having this Zoom chat, which will go not only national, but it's also to your international people who are following you, I need to tell you that things are different in other states. Kolkata is one area where there is a lot of labor which is basically engaged in craft for fashion and in textile. What is happening is that the people are not coming to work, and if at all they can, the government is having lockdowns every week. So you can come in for 2 days and there's a lockdown for 5 days. So if you want to know what are the changing signs, The changing signs depend from the day to day, from the orders of the of the MHA orders or the orders which a local state government give. In Mumbai, it is a similar situation. There may not be lockdowns, but this is a completely difficult market for factories to resume. So they have not come back to normal at all. Things are still slightly easier for your viewers to know that Delhi is still a bit easier, but it's not the same when it comes to the other cities, especially Kolkata.
Kolkata, I always thought, I mean, just a Delhi guy perspective, I thought Kolkata would have been relatively easier because of the label, a lot of people there working. And what is this very interesting thing I've been reading, a lot of designers have gone into face mask production. So that is something very interesting, which I never thought at one point. And but it's also very interesting at the same time how that did that start. I mean, in the industry, and then
I mean, Ashish and Reena, whoever would.
So, in my case, sorry, Ashish, I took it up. But I didn't do it because my sister-in-law picked it up, but she picked it up very quickly. She makes kids' clothes for the local market, and she had a lot of production on, or on the way. So she had workers. So right in the middle of the lockdown, she sort of managed to get herself started up. She set up her label, and it's called, I think, Pika Buzu, and she's been pretty successful in masks, but she was always a number game player. And most of us designers may not be so many, like he said, it's an atelier. Most of us are ateliers or sample unit kind of factories. For us to get into masks, I don't know if it really, I mean, I have masks in my store at Emporio, but it's not my breadwinner, or it never can be at the moment, unless, because I can't match a price, frankly, of 5 rupees, 4 rupees, and those kind of prices which one is getting in bulk. Like, I do know my sister-in-law is getting that kind of pricing, so she's able to pass it on to her client. So, and she's making a good product in it. So for me, a mask, I can do it, but more like sample or as an objet d'interest, or like to sell a few pieces, maybe 100. I won't be successful, according to me, as yet, in my kind of a model for more than 100 pieces a month, which is nothing really.
that was the reason I asked, because to me it makes, I mean, I am not a designer, I'm a photographer and very bad with business sense, I'll be frank. And that is why I was curious, how come this trend came up. So, and you gave a very detailed perspective. So tell me, what is the situation in the retail stores these days?
I'll let Ashish answer that.
Yeah. Ashish, can I just answer the mask question if you have anything to add in that?
Please,
So in the
please
mask
go ahead, Sunil.
situation, Augustus, what really happened is that, we got permission from, when the factories weren't opening up, one important reason we had was that we could open up the factories if we were going to make masks. So it was the easiest way for us to start. So during that time, not only Delhi government, which gave us permission to open factories if we were able to produce masks, also Delhi police even Delhi police from the headquarters, they gave us permission to do that. But guess what? We tried to go to different people, sent out a mailer trying to find out how many factories in the area of Delhi NCR will be able to do that. Surprisingly, even after 15, 20 days or in the first 1 month, hardly anybody had more than 10, 20 tailors to offer. So even though there was a willingness on the part of the designer, because guess what? If somebody has 200 workers, how do they keep them busy? The fabric is already there. So many of the factories did not go out and buy the fabric. This is what is called, they used the in-house fabric which was lying around and made masks. There were people in Delhi who did that successfully and also made a model of that. Made a model of that. So many factories and many designers did go into production, but only those people could manage who had a very, let's say at least 10 or 15 people who are working on it. Mask making is for an Indian fashion designer, for Reena and for Ashish, is kids play. It does not require, it is basically just a cut and sew operation for them. So it is not a big deal for them to churn out. But at the end of the day, when everybody, each and everyone in the country, all the retailers, all the big players, everybody is making masks. There is no need for designers. Let them do what they do best, is to make beautiful clothes, is to cater to a market which cannot get the clothes from any foreign, any luxury retailer. The Indian designer is able to give them that. Ashish does very, very special suits for men. Reena's dresses and sarees are well known. So, they specialize. So making mask was just out of necessity at that time. And if anybody wanted to do it as a CSR activity, then we can still do it. There's no problem on that. Anybody can still do it as a CSR activity, but most designers gave them out free to people rather than made hefty profits.
It's true, Mr. Sethi. Absolutely. Mr. Sethi, by the way, can I add something? I have found a picture of you and me wearing a mask, which at a party 2 years ago, which Gaurav Gupta had called us for. So I'll send it to him, and maybe you can use it in the
Yes,
mask
I
episode.
will. And it's very interesting. Last time we met, is that you were also wearing a cream. Like right now you were wearing, I very vividly remember you had a cream turtleneck. I love turtlenecks. Last time
Who are you speaking to? Reena never wears turtleneck.
Yeah, I
No,
remember.
I'm sorry, I got sandwiched in a bad timing zone. But yeah,
So were you speaking to Reena on her turtleneck?
Yeah.
Actually, I must tell you that right now, Reena is traveling on her way to Goa, but she stopped her car only for this interview. So I think, Augustus, you are very privileged and your show is very privileged that Reena has stopped on the main highway from here only to be able to speak and be part of this.
I did do Goa, but thank you.
I mean, that's exactly what I was about to say. So
Except that, Reena does Goa, Ashish does Honolulu, and I stay in Delhi like you. But also you being a photographer of such, I'm sure that you also try to travel a bit.
I actually like more of the Northeast more, actually. I enjoy Northeast more. The nature and natural, I want to personally. So, maximum of sales in the industry across happened during the wedding season. And because of the COVID situation, the obviously and the shrink of the income, obviously the wedding sales have drastically dropped. So how are you managing it now, and what is the probable future of it?
This is just up your sleeve.
So, Augustus, I'll start with your earlier question, which was how is retail and what's the future of it across the world? Well, the immediate impact of the pandemic and then thereafter the lockdowns was that obviously retail became, non-existent. And more than anything else, as you know, that when at such a time when it hits the world, fashion becomes complete, non-essential, and it's not something that's on top of everybody's mind. So definitely, that was one of the first things people would cut out. Then as we progress into the pandemic, as you saw, people lost their jobs, their incomes were drastically reduced. So the last thing they'd be doing is spending money on clothing. Of course, one thing that happened during the pandemic and thereafter was that there was a drastic shift of a lot of consumers to go online across the world. But most of that was, comfort clothing that they'd buy just to live in at home during those 3-4 months. A lot of that trend is still carrying on. So in terms of retail, when things opened across the world, everywhere across, it's an across the world statistic that I'm giving you. that almost 55 to 60% of fashion consumption is largely still happening now online rather than offline. So people are still not confident about going into stores, and most of their shopping is still happening on the online platforms. Specifically in India, like you said, that's going to be a challenge because a lot of our market is the wedding market, is centered around the various events that happen during a wedding. And a lot of our top lines were governed by those big weddings. And now with the new regulations in place where, a maximum of 50, which is now 100 people can attend, a lot of people have postponed their weddings or have, drastically shrunk the size and the, grandiosity with which they do the actual wedding. So it's definitely going to cut back on all our businesses. It already has. The other thing is that even though there's, people, even though say one goes ahead with that function, they're like, for example, a lot of my I'm doing a few weddings in November and December, but these are the same people who would otherwise, order say 10 things would now order 3 or 4. Secondly, it's a very, people have become a lot more conscious. One thing we all learned during the lockdown was that each one of us had, many unused garments and outfits in our wardrobe that we bought, but we've never worn. So a lot of people noticed that, we were consuming in excess. So a lot of those people are going back to saying, okay, I have new clothes which I can still wear because I never worn them. And definitely as the pandemic recedes, hopefully, and the event industry opens up a little bit and weddings become better, it'll have a direct positive impact on our businesses.
So yeah, that's what I thought, because it's become a matter of survival firstly, and then I think the first thing that gets hit is, I think, fashion, artist. I think that's, and then how has Make in India, if I remember correctly, Reena ma'am had started earliest in my knowledge, uh, been adopted in the industry, and how is it being followed through about it in the
Katie, you all are doing so much with the FD.
No,
Government.
but this question is I think you've also done enough. So why don't you start and then I'll pick it up after that.
Well, Make in India is what we all are, I guess. Not just, it is not truly an exclusive of mine. Make in India is, I assume, anything who manufactures and makes something in India or using Indian products or otherwise, but we make it in India. So, of course, the government has had a lot of voice in this kind of push. They've given a voice to this concept of Make in India, and design industry, with their leadership of FDCI, has been very supportive of this trend. And I have, I think, gone along with them, actually, to be honest.
Yeah, but Reena, it's not just the government of course, the government of the day has given it a extra push. I don't deny that. But if you remember that, many years ago, we tried to, we all went again to Banaras one day.
Yeah.
And even there, it was under Mrs. Smriti Irani. At different projects with different ministers have taken place in that way. The present government has given the cry for vocal for local, but right now on the National Handloom Day on August 7th, we were able to do something. A new nara was given, which is vocal for handmade. So all the designers got together to do that. But remember one thing, that since the inception of FDCI, much before that, when the designers started to do something, the Made in India tag was always there. So whether you say Make in India, to ho hi raha tha. Wo to obviously every product that the Indian designer does is Make in India. But the Made in India was also very prevalent, because in the beginning, import was not very easy in the first place. So not many people could do that. I know that at some point Ashish went to buy lots of foreign fabrics for the suits, but that was that started only in about 2000 or something. But much before that, the Indian fashion designer was existing even before that, when nobody could import the fabric. So every fabric was Indian. What do you think? Ashish and Reena both went to a design school. And in the Indian design school, where would they send you? They would not send you to Milan or to Paris. They would send you to clusters where handloom is being made. So that is as good as the local for vocal that was happening even during their days when they were studying. Maybe I think both of them were in college in the 1970s, or at least.
She must have been born in 1970.
So
I'm
I want
85,
you to laugh.
but I'm 85, but yes, I've heard some crazy things about the 70s. I'm someday going to definitely ask.
Yes. So I went to, I was joking, I went to college during the 70s, and Reena and Ashish are both products of the 2000s. So they are of a different century completely. But to tell you about local and make in India, the present wedding market that Ashish was talking about in your question, everything is local for vocal. Everything is make in India. Why? Because all the techniques which are used, whether they are used in gowns, whether they are used in saris, whether they are used in a traditional bridal outfit, all the fabrics are Indian, all the embroideries and the craft used, that is as local as you can get. So in fact, the bridal market and the couture market is far more local than the Pret market.
Oh, wow.
Because in the Pret market, you are still experimenting with, lots of people can go to different markets where fabrics are sold, and you just buy that or go and order that. But in the couture market, I mean, that craft can't come from anywhere else.
That's amazing. You really gave me
I don't know, Ashish, if this.
background. You gave me a very good background. I actually had no idea that we started so early in Made in. I know we had traditional wear, but it's a very interesting feedback because I'll be honest, a lot of people don't know this. They only know about Made in India because of the government. That's it. I mean, they
No,
don't.
but you see, earlier on, it was not people were not really, we were all patriotic. But patriotism, being patriotic did not mean that we were limited to use only Indian fabrics. Because when Reena did her Lycra Chudidar, I'm sure that Lycra was not made in India. But
It was
who knows?
I bought it in England the first time, frankly.
So that is, so it does not mean when Ashish was selling to Selfridges, it does not mean that they were asking for a local fabric. What was important was it was an Indian designer using it. So who was making chudidars in London? Nobody. So chudidar is very much Indian that way, and made by an Indian designer in India. So what we are saying is, this kind of feeling that we should buy Indian, that's a very good feeling. But please don't underestimate that we at the end of the day, we are dependent on the consumer. If in Ashish's suits, if everybody is going on, his competition is the luxury retailer in all the best stores. His shop is at a mall where all the best stores, luxury stores are. So he has to compete with them. He cannot make a khadi suit and take that up there, but it is possible.
It's not practical.
Ashish has made a very beautiful khadi bandgala bandi. So he does do things like that. He will make a shirt, but if the suit is to be made in a woolen tweed, which he cannot get from Almoda, and he has to get if the customer is asking for a foreign make, or the lining has to be foreign, then he will do it. So I just want you to know one thing. The Indian designer in his heart or her heart, they are very much Indian. They know that they have even reached international shores because of the Indian sensibility and the craft. They are fully aware of that. But sometimes we are also dependent on the customer's requirements. So, for example, the t-shirt and the shirt you are wearing, Augustus, is it where is this brand from?
This is actually Indian made. I've forgotten the brand name. I just pick up anything, nothing not branded, the basic thing.
Okay, good. So, but sometimes, what I'm trying to say is that if somebody has to buy, we have to be first good at what we do. Shoes, for example. I am sure that whether you're wearing casual, most people still, we are not making good sandals, for example, in India for women. So what do we do? So we can keep saying make in India, but then not everybody wants to be in the same Kolhapuri chappal or the new versions which are there, or they may not be accessible to everybody.
That is true. Shoe part I can agree, because good shoes is a trouble. That's
Ashish,
important.
when Ashish was having his shows, he used to, I remember he made his own shoes in India with patent leather. Now, it is not necessary that the patent leather belongs to India. That is, something as long as, so sometime we don't want to cheat. None of the designers want to do that. But sometime even some kind of fittings which are used are not available in the country. So that is why the Indian designer may be forced to use that. Otherwise, make in India, made in India is something that they always feel very proud of.
That makes so much sense. So, sir, tell me, what is your observation of the Gen X? I mean, the new generation and their philosophy and approach.
I think both Reena and Ashish still belong to Gen X for me.
Say
My
that.
age, so
I
let them,
didn't say that.
they are still Gen X for me.
Yeah, I
And
understand. And I
Reena
remember
maybe
Ashish
is
sir
Gen Y. Today,
in my seats.
Reena maybe is Gen Y. So you need to ask both of them.
Yes, that is. I was asking them, sir. What is in your own observations? What is what's the next generation doing? What's the approach? Because they'll be struggling right now for worst actually in compared to because of lack of establishment or semi-establishment. So, what's the changes in their life you have observed? Have they given up, or they're still evolving with the scenario in mind?
Come on, Gen X or
I
Gen
don't
Y.
think I'll disagree. We are not Gen X or Gen Y. We've got children who are now Gen X and Gen Y. So
Kids are still
to
younger.
answer your question, Augustus, and Reena is fully in agreement with me there. She knows the pressures of Gen X and Gen Y when you have kids in that age group. But to answer your question, I think it's been hard on everyone. It's not just them. Of course, a lot of their college programs have got disrupted. Everything's become online. But remember, that's been one segment of the consumer across the world. Since you're bringing it up, every study that I've read during the lockdown and after, that has been one area of remember, most of those people are not most of them are still dependent on their parents, so a lot of their expenditures have still occurred, perhaps in lesser number as to pre-COVID days, but a lot of them have still shopped. They are very, very tech savvy, so they were the guys who ordered off the internet and kept their consumption going, which was a good thing for a lot of businesses, so that people survived during the pandemic. And they are definitely the people who, because they become your tomorrow. So let's speak specifically of India. As you know, that India is one of the youngest countries, and we've got a very, very young population. So moving forward, they are the guys who will hopefully consume, both in terms of fashion, technology, automobiles, everything. So India is extremely hopeful and looking forward to the fact that the millennials, as we call them, moving forward, we have one of the largest percentage of them across the world at the moment, and hopefully they will become our consumers in the times to come.
Because that was that was a word, but my dyslexia got better of me. I couldn't pronounce the word millennials. Yeah, anyhow.
Reena, you want to add to that?
Yeah, hi. So, I found that the bigger the person, the more he was hurting, frankly. I felt if you were a small guy in the lockdown and this COVID situation, you stood an advantage. in my opinion, it's an opinion. I mean, it doesn't mean much. But I felt because I have, I mean, either by relationships or what, I have both areas where you're a small factory and a big factory. The big ones hurt more. They had much more liabilities and fixed costs to take care of with the no incoming versus the small guy. The small guy had smaller liabilities. He had less risks. So perhaps his market structure reduced, but then being Gen Next, as Ashish pointed out, they are naturally tech savvy and they know the mediums much better than a older generation. It doesn't mean that all old people are like that, but like it's a natural thing for them. I know because my kids are that generation. So I would say that don't think it's only the big guy is really suffering. It's hurting.
So I
Any
actually agree with
impact.
I agree with Reena, because you know some of the younger people, of course, they suffer as much. But if they have just 5 people, then you know it's easier to manage. What FDCI did with its board, you know, we came up with a COVID fund. In the COVID support fund, and Reena and Ashish have both been with the board for at least 6 years, if not more. Actually, many more years is the board. So they know that we keep doing stuff like this. In the COVID support fund, we help more than 25 to 30 designers, but all of them were in a category where their sales were less than 50 lakhs. They were the people we wanted to help because it was easier for us to do that. It was easier for us to look after the staff salary, the salary of the workers or their rent. But there is no way any organization can give any help to the big size players, big ticket players, to the bigger designers who have factories with 20, 30, 50, 100 people. That's not going to be possible for everybody to help out. So it is up to them to survive. And you know, they have to come.
Mr. Sethi, you helped out. I'll tell you, the initiative you had of the stock room was a brilliant initiative. And that is one of the ways one can, liquidate the inventory. And it had an incredible reach.
Yeah, the reach was incredible. So, you know, they got more, even if you weren't able to sell a lot of product, a lot of people, there were so many hits on each person's websites, and you know that there's a customer which is going to come back. So to answer your question, Augustus, I do agree that it's not easy for either the millennial or the established designer or the young designer, but the only advantage is that the young millennial has taught the senior designers to be more active. So many of them did not even have a website till now. And what they led people to do is that they can't exist without that. So they came up with websites. They came up with many PR people, while the younger designer was able to do it all by himself. But the other designer was able to then get more outside help to do that. I think that is very, very important right now, that the younger designer has taught everybody the power of the social media.
Absolutely.
I think
So well
it's
said.
common across various other sectors. I mean, not only fashion. I've seen it in the medicine firsthand, that it's very common where people of the old guard are adapting somehow, and now this even medicine might be fashion, and this crossover is happening.
Augustus, for us, you are part of the young guard, and you know I remember meeting you at Ashish's very big fashion show once, and with a camera, and I found out, you know, that you were actually a photographer. That's when I found that out, even though you had been coming to Fashion Weeks earlier. So why don't you tell Reena and Ashish and me about your struggles, because the same struggle that a young designer has, I'm sure a young photographer and people in the medium of photography and art have the same. So why don't you share your experience to us?
So, my background, I would say, is like I did my first bachelor's in 2005, and then I finished my honors in 2012 from New England School of Photography in Boston. I've had, and my struggling. So in 2009, I started to cover Fashion Week, Delhi Fashion Week. That time it was called like New Delhi Fashion Week, and
No, no, it was always India Fashion Week.
yeah, in
That
fact,
may
I
have been a
remember. Okay,
paper.
I am bad with
You are
names.
forgetting.
Ask me, forgive
Most
me.
people have forgotten except Ashish, but go ahead, please.
Yeah, I'm bad with names. But yeah, it was a fashion week that happened in Delhi. So
Yes.
yeah, I that being said, I each year did that. I did art fair. So I shot for Parish Mehti, Jayashree Burman, and well other known painters. I documented their work as well, and then I saw the first designer I worked in India was with Raghavendra Rathore. I did his mass show, and then after that, I also at the same time I was more lenient towards the art than in fashion, but also balancing the two. In between, I got a lucky break in 2015 to have a show at the Louvre. So I had a show at the Louvre and the Times Square later on. And once that happened, in the meantime, when I came back, so I started to work with Ashish for I think almost 4 years now. By now, I think it's 4 years. I've been doing like one of my favorite assignments, hands down, is that photographing his studio that was in Def Call, and then the one with TFM. I had worked, did some shots for TFM, uh,
It's
and
a modeling agency, I think.
yeah. And then I
Well
did the shoot for with the model Karma, which was also in my exhibition, which you came. That was hosted by the ITC Saket. So that's one thing. These are major things. And right now the struggle is I actually don't know. Frankly, I have no clue what's the next step for me. I like how many virtual shoots can you do? Physical is I cannot raise that moment because the normally I could have taken 5% chance, but I wouldn't take it right now because the people in my family are directly people who advise very high ranking people in the government. So I cannot risk their getting sick. In other words, that's
So, yeah. So, I think, we can see Reena is back in her villa in Goa or south of France, one of the in Goa, and Ashish will soon leave for the south of France, while you and me will stay here, Augustus. So we will be struggling not to know what we have to do. But you still have choices. But the Indian fashion designer Ashish and Reena don't have a choice because this has been their life. They have started their journey in life with fashion. They have learnt only fashion. They have gone ahead, and that is the business and profession which is closest to their heart, and they enjoy it. So they have no other choice. The Indian fashion designers, since this is about Indian fashion, will only be doing that. Only thing is that they will diversify within fashion to go to lifestyle, to go to interiors, to do other things, but they will remain in that same space. While you, Augustus, can do many things. And also, I have done many things over the years and got into fashion seriously on a day-to-day basis only in 2008. So I think, we might have more choices, but I would rather be, but having more choices, we are confused. But the two designers here are very focused. They know exactly what to do. They know how many shops they have to open and how many shops they have to shut. It's not necessary they have to keep growing.
exactly that
They
was
need to consolidate. Like you and me, they don't have to think about 20 things. They are sure this is how many people we may add in our factory or not. we should we go national to Mumbai and other spots. So I think you and me shouldn't answer this. Let's ask them, because the message should go very loud and clear about the Indian fashion scene. The main thing you wanted to ask in the beginning is, will we survive? Will we do well? Will fashion, because of pandemic, not happen? I think they will be in a position to tell us exactly that. Ashish, up.
Yeah, sir.
Let Reena start.
Reena, you're on mute. Reena, you're
Mute.
I'll unmute. Hi.
Yeah.
Yeah. I personally think that there is opportunity, frankly, even now, because of the change in situation. Only problem is the model we built ourselves till now may or may not always support it. I do feel that as Ashi said, more and more of us are staying at home. There is a requirement for a lot of athleisure, casual wear. As you've seen, food has really seen a change. It has created a lot of entrepreneurs who've gone on to do very well. I will name one, Mr. Sethi might also know, called Harathi. And we've been buying from her very nice products, which she's making like.
she's done very well.
Yeah, so it's all about having quick on-the-go ideas to be able to adapt to our new situation. And for me, one of the things has also been to cost cut, because being a small organization, I want to not have this model of debt and liability on me. So I sometimes may make foolish mistakes, but I try to, as much as I can. I really wish. I mean, of course, luckily I don't have that many stores, but that I have to be that in that bigger soup. But because I have one of my own where I pay rent, but even that is hurting, so that becomes your liability of building into your costing. But I am excited about this time, to be honest. I feel I have a lot of ideas which in my work I wasn't doing, because I was kind of doing a bhed chal. And now at this time, I want to try them out. They're very prep, they're very new, and I feel I want to do those more wearable things. The only sad part is that number game is still not up. And in athleisure and these categories, you need a very low cost production and high cost return. So I'm there. I'm struggling.
So, sir, I mean, Ashish, sir. Okay, let's be present.
So Augustus, basically to answer your question, a lot of, I think Reena summed it up quite well, but a lot of us have spent time over the last, 6 months almost, thinking about a lot of things that we were doing wrong. So it's not just about, there was frivolous expense, there was perhaps, we had excess people. For example, a lot of times we were told by people in the West that, you guys hire what you've hired one person to do, 4 people to do in England or in Paris, one person would be doing that. So a lot of learnings have come also in terms of how to keep your organizations lean and more effective. Going back to, for me, one of the biggest realizations personally was about product. Like Reena said about one just being constantly on the treadmill, or the word she used, bhed chal, which is so true, that we were never off it, and we were always just never had the time to look at ourselves from the other side. And I think I've had a lot of time to do that in this lockdown. And one big learning for me is definitely to go back to the drawing board as far as the product is concerned, and make sure that perhaps I do things which I consciously perhaps knew I was not doing prior to the lockdown, but now I wish to do. Whether it's improving the every aspect in terms of quality of the product, whether it's to produce rightly, produce sustainably. We all talked about this word of sustainability. How much of it did we actually mean? It's not just using organic fabrics or handloom fabrics. It's beyond that. You have to build it in terms of a lifestyle. So every small contribution that each one of us makes can help that. And more than that, in terms of to answer your second part of your question, yes, a lot of the designers have already gone online. I mean, that I'm, as we speak, in the process of doing so, and that shall be another new channel for us in terms of how it will unveil in terms of how sales will happen online. Beyond that, luckily for me, we were working on a ready-to-wear project with Amazon, which is launching at the end of this month, which will show us in terms of a lower priced, very well priced value item for across India. So that will be another learning curve in terms of how India responds to great designer wear at a very affordable price. So it's a learning curve for all of us as we move ahead, at least for the next 9 months for sure.
Also, this is just one pure, I mean, one last question I had is one like purely a photographer's question, because since there's so much confusion in a photographer, when I talk to my friends and all that, is that there's one concern key, what will be the format? Obviously, there'll be a new format for us when we work with designers or organizations. I mean, there has to be, and then the second part of that question would be, if we get X amount of money now, and would we get that same amount, or in the new format? Obviously, that is sustainable to both parties and reasonable to both parties. So, what is the future of the photographer in the future? Because digital platforms are coming and so on.
So I think, this is the good thing is that you've asked us very interesting questions, and this Zoom chat has almost, we've taken an hour. So that's very good. That you have so many questions. But this, I think we should make this the last one, because it is so much concerned with you and your profession. So Ashish, why don't you?
I think before I even say anything on it, Augustus, I'd like to say that Mr. Sethi has been doing a lot of work in terms of how our industry is going to move forward. And I feel that, he's shared a lot of his ideas with me over the past couple of weeks. And a lot of them actually now involve photographers more than any time before. So I think there are various ways in which I'll let him tell you exactly what he's been up to. But I'd like to say that there's a vast there are various new opportunities for people like yourself to align with various different digital mediums that are coming up. So please be aware of that. In fact, there are mediums and options opened up for a photographer that weren't there perhaps pre-COVID. So you need to use them to your advantage. I think Sunil should take it from here.
I think Augustus, I am, I have come to realize that social media does not work unless it is packaged with beautiful graphics or beautiful photographs. It cannot, or a video. In both, in 2 out of the 3, the photographer and the medium of photography is most important in this. If Ashish is thinking of going online after being in business now for more than 25 years, right, Ashish? 25 years. If so, which goes to show, if Reena, who is always seen at any print or any visual media, she's always there. But also now, even her business, she won't be able to go very far if this is not an element which is used in her business. She has to go for an e-commerce model, has to go online. Because if she's only wanting to stay with one store, how will she touch and connect with the people throughout the country? What do you need for that? You definitely need a photographer who is going to show the clothes to come online. To go to e-commerce, we have to do a virtual showroom. When you do a virtual showroom, how can you make a virtual showroom without a photographer or his lens or his video camera? So what I'm trying to tell you is, don't bother yourself too much about this question. Where it comes to your line of business, only enhance your knowledge from being just a still photographer, go and try to do anything which is to do with other mediums. Go, there is a green screen now, which is the VFX technology. The more time you spend on the VFX technology after a visual is done, the more is the money that you can charge your customer. As of now, my main spending today in FDCI, we are doing 2 digital formats, the India Couture Week and the India Fashion Week. In the India Couture Week, essentially the people who are benefiting most are the people who have a camera with them. They are the ones who are getting the maximum fee, even more than the model, even more than the lighting expert, even more than the backstage person, even more, even more than the choreographer, because that is the beauty of what is all going to be captured by the camera, and that's what you are going to see. So I feel that I'd like to thank you on behalf of Ashish and Reena, only to say that you have asked us brilliant questions, and I'm sure your viewer will come to know the viewpoint from Reena and Ashish, our leading fashion designers, from their point of view, and also the talent who are in photography and younger millennials and people your age who are struggling to find the answers. Maybe as a closing remark, if Ashish and Reena want to say anything, but I want to be here and sign off, and thank you very much to all of you for including me in this.
Thank you.
Augustus.
Thank you, Sunil. Thank you, Augustus. Thank you, Reena. This was a extremely interesting conversation.
It's really nice. Thank you, Mr. Sethi. You have so much of experience, Mr. Sethi, that sometimes some of the words and things you say, your ideas, if any of us implemented just the way you said it, I do know that there is a huge light at the end of that tunnel. So I appreciate them, and yeah, this online model thing is really the way forward, and all of us will have to adapt to it. You, me, Augustus, all of us, and it's sink or swim. So this is where the tide takes us.
Thank you
so much, all of you. Thank you so much for being there for this conversation. It was enlightening, as I call it. Very important.
Thank you, and wish you the best for many more with different people and different, I know that you have been doing this with other categories, and I'm sure you'll start with design, art, medical, who knows. So wishing you all the best from all 3 of us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening. Take care. Bye.